take roll.
Ms. Atkins,
Here.
Mr. Hendricks,
Here.
Mr. Houston,
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Here.
Mr. Stoffer,
Here.
Mr. Weiledge,
Here.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for the June 1st, 2020 meeting?
So moved. So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, vote please.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Weiledge,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. Commendation and good news. At this time, this is a portion of our board agenda that anyone from the audience can address the board. And since we are on Zoom, if anyone has any questions, they can use the chat. As of right now, we don't have anything to address the board. And so we will go on to.
I do believe Dave has some.
Oh, commendations. I'm sorry, I missed one.
That's
So we
okay.
need to do commendation and good news. I was going ahead of myself.
I do have several items. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I do have several items tonight for good news. I'm going to play this first video, but I'm going to wait and do it a little bit later. I just want to point out these three videos to you on the document that will be shared with you. This is a video that Mandy Reynolds put together, middle school principal, that is celebrating the great things that happened through students' eyes at the middle school this year. The second one, or the third one here on the list, is a fun Titan Hill teachers video that Kristen Lawnmeyer, a second grade teacher, put together for the kids. It features all the teachers at Titan Hill. And this is a craft year-end video that one of our preschool teachers put together. So those three videos are great celebrations for the end of the year in this interesting time. This fifth grade talent show is a long presentation that has lots of student talent in it from fifth grade. Aubrey Philippek is one of our fifth grade teachers, and it was assembled by videos that students took of themselves and sent to Aubrey. So I encourage you to take some time to look at it. We had several, as you can see, students who were published in the Optimist Club Right Touch publication this year, four for pieces of art and four for their literary prowess. We had a number of students featured in this Omaha Summer Arts Festival Young Artists exhibit. And this particular item here happens to be a sketch that Madeline Furlow did, one of our seventh grade students. Just phenomenal work. And then Lori West shared some congratulations for two of our LCHS speech students, Spencer Cooper and his sister Eleanor, who participated this year in virtual state speech. And to highlight there, this is the second year that Spencer has received all-state recognition for spontaneous and after-dinner speeches. So congratulations to Spencer. He was also one of the 4 students in the state that awarded the Hall of Fame $1,000 scholarship. And this is just an example, like I shared last week, of an email from a parent, very appreciative of the wonderful things that we've tried to do to in this trying time, step forward on behalf of their kids. And hold their learning as something that we cherish. So wanted to share that with you. That was a middle school parent. And last but not least then, this is a link to this video. I have optimized the screen for the production of the video, so hopefully this will play successfully for you.
Okay, let's rock and roll, Nicole.
All right.
On Mondays and Wednesdays, I have one set of crew, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have another crew. I have separated them in case one group gets sick, then we do have crew for the whole week. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I have a crew that comes in and cooks the product. So like today we're having chicken patties, so they needed to cook it, assemble it, and then we're putting them in the bags. And on my Tuesday, Thursdays, they're the hefty lifters of it. They put the trucks away and they stock like the shelf stable stuff and the chips. We are wearing masks, we have gloves. This program is important for multiple reasons. One, because so many of our kids do rely on school for their meals only. Another reason is that everybody's routine has been broke up and everybody's been thrown a curveball. A lot of the kids have found normalcy coming in here and picking up meals once a week from us or seeing us, so it does get them some sense of comfort and it has made the transition much easier. Another important thing is that it is helping with our inventory that food service has sitting on hand, so we have less waste. It's helping the household incomes stretch their food budget a little more. The reason that I do the job that I do is because when I was a kid, I grew up in a food insecure home. And knowing that I can help the kids here really means a lot to me. Just the connections and helping them make sure that the kids have something to eat. I know that for a bunch of the ladies that are working with me during this really weird time at this point is being able to see the familiar faces of their kids that, you know, they helped during the day. I know that a bunch of them feel that it's very important, just like I do, to make sure that there is food going out to the kids.
And I just wanted to let everyone know that as of last week, that's not counting the meals they passed out today, the food service department has passed out 30,525 meals throughout this closure.
Amazing. That used to
That is a lot.
quantify things like that.
That's good. Thank them. We thank them for everything they're doing to help the kids, because this was all unexpected, and I think we've done a good job adapting to the new normal, I guess. Dave, did you have any other?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, does anyone else? Commendation and good news? Okay, since I announced comments and suggestions, if anyone from the audience had heard that, they could go ahead and send anything via chat. And we still don't have anything. So if anyone does type something into the chat, we will address it then when we come back to the comments and suggestions the second time on the agenda. So now we'll go to consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And did we
Second.
Get a second? Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay. And then there is an updated personnel sheet. Or is this, was there any changes?
Yes, it is updated to add the summer school and extended school year teachers and paraeducators.
Gotcha. Is there any discussion? Okay, vote please.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. Reports.
No reports tonight.
All right, we'll go on then to discussion items 7.01 Adobe licensing renewal.
Yeah, these first three items, actually, I'm going to defer all of them to Dave.
Okay, this first item is a renewal for our Adobe Creative Cloud suite of applications. This is used across the district in various kinds of ways. It's a volume license agreement from Adobe, so it's actually cheaper for us to buy access for 2,500 licenses than it is to individually license just the people who specifically need it for Project Lead the Way classes, secretaries, video production uses, publications classes at the high school. In fact, we have even extended the use of the Adobe Creative Suite into the middle school. Every student, grades 6 through 12, have access to the Spark product from Adobe Now for managing social media, creation of social media posts. There's only one qualified seller in Iowa. This is through the AEA cooperative purchase, and that is Journey Ed out of Dallas, Texas.
Are there any questions? Don't hear any, so we can go on to 7.02 iReady diagnostic assessments.
The next item is a renewal and expansion of our use of the iReady suite of products, the iReady diagnostic and instruction. We use iReady as our second assessment in reading and math at grades K through 8. Next year, we're going to move to using the iReady math and reading diagnostic also as our required screening instrument. So we're not going to be using FastBridge for that. We'll actually eliminate some time for implementing assessments and putting it back into instruction by doing that. We had access to the free access to the instruction components for iReady in grades K through 8 this year after COVID began. And so we have actually been using this product on a free basis, the instruction piece of it on a free basis, especially at the elementary level. And the plan is for next year is to incorporate the instruction piece to replace Lexia at the Titan Hill site. By doing that, we can actually add instruction, add the iReady instruction component at the K5 level for less costs than we can just renew the Lexia product. So Titan Hill decided to do that. We're happy about that. And we were able to then get the licensing for Creft as well. This also is used to implement math intervention at the middle school. So math instruction at the middle school is also included. That's through the program that Brianna Longwell provides for math intervention services at the middle school. So the total is $39,512.40 for iReady diagnostic and instruction.
Are there any questions? Okay. We will then go on to 7.03, Microsoft licensing renewal.
Annually, we need to renew our volume license agreement for the Microsoft desktop and Office products. This covers Windows 10 and all updates. If they come out with a Windows 11, it would be part of our system. It includes all server operating systems as well, all the client access licenses for servers. It includes the Office suite, Microsoft Pro Plus Office suite as well. And it's done on a state volume licensing basis, much like the Adobe suite is. You notice the quantities. 256 represents what Microsoft, a classification of employee that Microsoft calls, let's see, I can't remember what they call it. It's like education, knowledge employees. So we don't have to license for every employee we have. We don't have to license for bus drivers, custodians, cooks, etc. But we do have to license for all of the knowledge employees in the system. And when we do that, we're able to use it across the system, every device that we have, every server that we have. And it is, of course, then cheaper to do it this way than to individually license the products.
So we actually have more than the quantity 256.
Oh, way more. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We have about between 800 and 900 Microsoft Windows devices in the system.
Okay. Is there any questions? All right. We'll go to 7.04, 2020-2021 board meeting dates.
Yes, so you were provided that list of dates, and it's pretty straightforward. It's just really adopting the the dates associated with, I think, our current meeting schedule onto next year's dates, so they coincide. I was trying to remember back at our annual meeting if I don't remember where I heard this, but I thought of this over the weekend. Somebody at some point in time asked me a question about Monday nights, and I couldn't remember if it was a board member, but so I didn't put any of that in there. Again, that was an afterthought, but now would be the time to discuss that. This is just a recommendation based on what we've been doing. We do make the recommendation that if we're going to continue on Zoom meetings, which I'm assuming that we at least will for month of June, that we would do those at 5 p.m. And then if we were to be back to in-person meetings, we would go back to the 6:30 start time. So I'll leave it open for discussion. But again, those dates, there's nothing magical about them. They just coincide with the dates from this year, which I'm assuming probably coincided with dates from last year. And if there's any recommended changes, we're obviously open to that. But we just wanted to let this be a starting point. And if that's good enough, then that's fine. But we're all open for whatever others may suggest.
So is your question is why it's on Monday nights, or?
Yeah, somebody just asked me, I'm assuming it wasn't board members because nobody's jumping on it, but somebody had asked me if I had utilized Monday nights in the past, and I had said, no, I'm indifferent to when board meetings are. I've had Tuesdays, I've had Thursdays, and one point in time at Wednesdays. I've never had Monday until I came here. So other than, as long as we don't decide to start meeting on Friday nights, conflict with anything, I've done every night. So I'm fine. But somebody had questioned it, and it's a kind of it was a fleeting thing. I just don't recall. I promise I'm a good listener, but I just don't recall if it was posed to me as in, did we ever think about doing something different than Monday? Has the board ever been asked if they prefer something different than Monday? I don't know how long the district has been doing Mondays, but it's not, I'm not bringing it up at all as a suggestion to change. I am absolutely indifferent to what night board meetings are on.
I think it's always been on Monday since I had kids start Lewis Central.
Yeah.
And I don't ever remember a meeting not on a Monday unless it was an extra meeting. I believe Council Bluffs goes Tuesday nights. And so with the non-paral attending meetings, that way they could be our meeting on Monday, Council Bluffs the next night. And because the education reporter, it's kind of hard to be at both places at the same time. That's all I know, unless someone else has any other information. It could be because of activities too. We've kept Monday. I'm fine with Mondays. I don't know, does any other board member have any discussion? Anything to add?
I'm good with Mondays.
I appreciate Mondays. It's one of the nights I don't work, so it's good.
I'm good with Monday.
Mondays are fine.
Stay with
Okay.
Monday.
Yeah, because Wednesday night we can't. I mean, if Council does theirs Tuesday, Wednesday night we can't, then the only other day would be a Thursday, unless we do a different, the second week. But sounds like everyone's okay with keeping it the first and third Mondays. And I think as long as Zoom meetings work for 5 o'clock, except for tonight, I was delayed. But I think we'll 6:30, unless someone has any objections, we'll just go ahead and keep this as presented. Okay. And we'll go on then to 7.05 administrator salaries for 2020, 2021.
And so in your book, you were provided the list that the salaries the administrators include. And you'll see there, the only few that would not be on there would be administrators that we hired, anybody that we hired this spring and, negotiated their salary to come in July. It's 3% recommendation, which is commensurate with the teacher negotiated increase. And other than that, Andrea, if you have anything additional to offer or if the board has questions, pretty straightforward.
Yep, straight across 3% increase to each individual salary.
Do you know how much that totaled then?
Yes. The increase from last year in the taking into consideration the 2 new hires is $30,198.
Do any board members have any questions?
Might want to add, Andrea, we were discussing that because of new hires, that's actually a lesser amount than what it would be, because oftentimes you reset salaries when somebody retires and you bring someone new in, or their experience is less or what have you. So just a side note to that figure, Doreen.
Okay,
And that is total package, not just salaries.
right. Okay. All right, any questions from the board members? Okay, hearing none, we will go to 7.06, which is late filed open enrollment requests, and we have 5 of those. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and so per Iowa Code 21.51A, we are allowed to go into closed session. Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle.
Yes.
I may add real quick, if I feel like I've done this before, and again, it's my indoctrination to a new state. And I'm trying to remember that we've had this before, but in my previous lives, when we had two closed in a row, that could be announced up front and same vote, but I forget, do we prefer to come back out and vote again to go back in for 7.07?
I
Or can
think,
we?
Andrea, didn't we go out
Yes, since it is.
and vote again and go back into closed session?
Okay, I'll learn.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said something. Okay, so we are now going into closed session. There we go, the breakout room. Okay, I am unmuted. So our next one is 7.07, possible purchase of real estate, and we are allowed by Iowa code. I do not have that in front of me, what the Iowa code is.
21.5, Karen 1J.
All right, per Iowa code, we can go into closed session. And so do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Stoffer,
Is he here?
He nodded yes. I think he's having audio issues.
okay.
Yeah, my thing wouldn't unmute. Sorry. Yes.
Sorry, and I didn't have the full screen to see everyone at that moment. Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
and Mrs. Shuffle.
Yes. So we will see you in the breakout. Okay, is everyone back? Okay, we'll go on then. This is back to the agenda. Let me get to the right screen. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Comments and suggestions. This is the second portion of our board meeting that we are taking comments and suggestions from anyone who's listening. And I believe we have no comments from YouTube. So we will go on to action items. 9.01 Adobe licensing renewal.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve renewing our Adobe licensing from Journey Ed as specified, totaling $12,125.
Second.
And Daryl, was that you that seconded?
Yes.
All right. Is there any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer, Mr. Stoffer,
Yes. Sorry.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.02 iReady diagnostic assessments.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the renewal of the iReady licensing from Curriculum Associates for $39,512.40.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.03 Microsoft licensing renewal.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion the board approve the renewal of our Microsoft licensing from Journey Ed as specified, totaling $11,552.80.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.04 2020-2021 board meeting dates. Can I get a motion, please?
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve proposed Lewis Central Board of Director meeting dates and times for the 2020-2021 school year as presented.
Second.
We got that second?
Yes.
From Ms. McDaniel. All right, any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston, Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.05 administrator salaries for 2020-2021.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a 3% administrator salary increase as presented.
So
Second.
moved.
Did you get that second?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.06, late open enrollment requests. We're going to start with student A. Can I get a motion, please?
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the late filed open enroll request for student A.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes.
Madam,
For student B1 and B2,
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
yes, I'd like to make a motion to deny the open enroll, the late filed open enroll request for students B1 and B2.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. For student C,
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion no to late filed open application request for student C.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. For student D,
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion for student D to no for a late filed open enroll application.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. And the last one, student E,
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the late filed open enroll request for student E.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.07, real estate purchase agreement.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion the board approve the real estate purchase agreement presented in closed session.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. Items of interest for future board meetings. We have another board meeting on June 15th, and I'm assuming we're going to be Zooming that also. And so it would start at 5 p.m. Is that right, Dr. Knos?
That is correct. That is the plan.
Okay, is there anything else?
And I see that all of our barricades are down, so our campus is now open.
Yes, so what has been said, and if today was the example, then we're in good shape. Of course, I knock on wood. But obviously, since staff are back in the building, as I depicted on my internal communication, it's pretty strict how we're doing things when it comes down to masks in our buildings and people signing in. There's no congregating, there's no meetings. But we also had baseball and softball start up. So it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to keep the campus closed. The only caveat to that is if we start seeing loitering or crowds or people that are not, examples of groups that aren't social distancing, then we would have to reconsider. But if today's any indication, there were people on our fields, there were people on our track, but it was, very, very appropriate, and there were no concerns about the usage. And to be honest with you, it felt really good to me to call Jeff this morning, remind him to take those signs down, and then to look out the window and see him gone. It just feels better. Cars in the parking lot today, employees back. It, feels a little more normal anyway.
Definitely. Okay, so if there's nothing else, we need vote. I'm sorry.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion to adjourn, and Josh Allen, I was reading at the same time I was trying to talk. That doesn't always work. He will be sending a Zoom invites to the board again tomorrow for the June 15th meeting. It's okay. I'm easily distracted, so not a problem. So we have a motion. Did we get a second to adjourn?
You did.
All right. So all in favor, say aye. And when
Aye.
we get off, aye. If we get
Aye.
off, then we
Aye.
agree.
Doreen, I just wanted to remind you, I don't know, did you get all the ayes you need?
I believe.